for this quilt. It's made of 2 half rectangle triangles. So if you look at this rectangle, half of it is a triangle. It's cut in half. So we put 2 of these together and they're both facing the same direction. Here's one, here's just another one. Now I used scraps for the accent fabric, which is the spike fabric, and then the background fabric. I didn't have enough light colors and low volume prints to use them in this background, so I used one fabric for the background. The quilt finishes at 60 inches by 84 inches, and the instructions are 2 pages. You can download them. There's a link in the description below the video. You can go to my blog and download this. The block finishes at 6 inches. They're set 10 across and 13 down, and so that's a total of 130 blocks. Now they're made from half rectangle triangles, and there are several different tools you can use to make these blocks. The first 2 rulers or templates you can use are basically the same ruler or template. This one is from the Tri-Rex tool set, and you also, in this set, you get the triangle that you can cut to make the triangle in a square block. And this will make up to 6.5 inches cut. This one, and this is from Easy Quilting, and this is Creative Grid's Perfect Rectangle. Does the same thing, but it's just the rectangles, and it will cut up to 9.5 inch piece of fabric. If you put them on top of each other, the markings and everything just line up perfectly. And also, both of them have these tops. If you look here, they both have these little corners cut off. And if you're using these tools, cut these corners off because it'll help you get more accurate piecing. So here's the cutoff on this side. If you're using the AccuQuilt, you can use the half rectangle triangle 3 by 6 inch finished, and it's die number 55411. And there'll be a link to that in the description below the video. Here's the difference between the tools, both of the Creative Grids and the Tri-Rex tool. And then the difference between those two and the AccuQuilt die is the shape of the triangle. I mean, they're both triangles, but you'll see this one has the hypotenuse, or the long side, on the left-hand side, if you're just looking at this one, and this one has it on the right-hand side. And the thing about these templates, or this shape, you have to cut them all the same way. And what I mean by that is you have to cut them with right sides up or right sides down. It'll get you a different look. So these 2 pieces I cut with the right sides together. So if you see that they're different, they're shaped differently. And you wouldn't be able to use them if you want all your blocks to look like this. So you can see how I did this if you put these right sides together and then they were cut like this. So it doesn't matter which way you do it, just do it the same way every time. If you start off with right sides up, then always cut right sides up, and that includes the background fabric as well. If you start with right sides down, then always cut right sides down. The only time you do right sides together or wrong sides together is if you want opposing sides like this, and you would use this for something like the Tri-Rex unit, or if you wanted these to face different. But then you would get a whole different look on this quilt if they faced this way. In the instructions on page 2, I wrote rotary cutting and AccuQuilt cutting instructions. And for rotary cutting, I said to put the right sides facing up. And for AccuQuilt cutting, I put the right sides facing down. The reason I did that is so either method you use to cut, you will have the same orientation of the block in this direction. That way, all of your, every time you look at the instructions or the pictures of the instructions, you can orient your blocks the same way. As you're going through your scraps looking for pieces you can use in the quilt, look for a piece that's 8 inches by 4 inches, and that should be plenty to get enough for one block, enough accent fabric for one block. And if I look at this piece, I see I can do it on my AccuQuilt because it's wide enough to fit on there, but it's longer, so I know that the length will be fine. So I'll just cut this in half and then stack the two and then cut them. So then I'll have enough for 2 blocks. Same thing if you're using this tool or either of the tools. An 8x4 should be enough. You will cut it out like this, then flip it over and make another cut like this. But remember, you always have the fabric facing up. You can cut them that way, or if you have a long piece like this, you need at least 6.5 inches for this tool. So I would go ahead and just cut this to 6.5 inches and then make my cuts. Open it up and make the cuts like this. Now if you're cutting yardage, like say for the background, I would cut strips. So for the templates, I would cut them 6.5 inches and then just open it up and just start cutting all your pieces. And if you're cutting strips for the AccuQuilt, you'll want to cut them about 8 inches. Once all of your cutting is done, you're going to sew your pieces together, a background and an accent. And since you've cut off the little nubs from either the AccuQuilt or the template, they'll fit perfectly. So you can match up the sides or both ends and then stitch your 1/4 inch. And this is what you'll end up with. And for these, I found it was easier later on to press these seams open. And then you'll take your 2 matching half rectangle triangles and sew those together like this. And this is what they look like. I also pressed this seam open. So if you look on page 2, we have the rows, how the quilt is going to be laid out. And this is the odd number rows are going to go like this. And I look at where the points are. So here the points are up, here the points are right. So up, right, all the way down. And you lay those out, lay the blocks out like that. And once you piece this row, you're going to press the seams toward the left. Then the even number rows, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, you're going to put the points left and down, left, down, all the way across. And these rows you're going to press toward the right. The reason you press these left and these right is so your seams between the rows, as you sew the rows together, will interlock and you'll get nice points and it'll just be easier to sew together. So that's it for this quilt. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe and share with your friends.